Time check, it is 2:59. We're ready to go live and in color in 1 minute.
Good, sir. I can't. Did you sign it?
We're good. Okay.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the July 28th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Allen County Public Library. And may we have a roll call, Madam Secretary?
Absolutely. Jim?
Present.
Ben?
Present?
Sharon?
Present.
Martin?
Here.
Kent? Paul? And myself. So we have 5 present and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. We have a quorum. I'd like to have a motion to adopt the agenda as distributed.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Let's move now to the approval of the minutes, and unless there's an objection, looks like we have 2 C's here. It must be a D.
Well, I can help you out
Oh,
on that.
oops.
We actually need to take the minutes of the approval of claims of July 11th off because we did not have enough signatures come back, so we're going to approve those today, both the 11th and today's claims. So if we could modify the agenda, that second C item is gone.
Okay. Based on what David just said, you could draw a line through it. Okay, so then let's have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session of the 23rd of June, 2022, the executive session of the same date, and minutes of the executive session of July 6, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor then, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Thank you so much. David, you're up.
Thank you, Ben. And just for the housekeeping items, there are no new lines that have gone over their spending benchmark, so accounts look very good so far. We're spending right on target. As far as news and notes, I just handed out to you the latest annual financial report. That was hot off the press yesterday. We were able to submit it to GFOA for award consideration again this year. So that project has been put to rest. Ben, thank you again for attending the exit conference. We had that last Friday, and it was reported that there were no findings from the auditors. They felt everything was in good shape. There were no modifications to the reports at all. So
I might add, your office, you and your staff were highly commended. Not one iota was missing. Everything was perfect.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, they do a great job. It's not me. It's Jill and her team that really produce the good results. Like I said, we put this together, but it's all year long, making sure that everything is done correctly and, made sure it's accurate. So, but thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you.
The other thing, obviously, is the budget going on right now. We are still waiting a few of the last remaining items. That'll be the major one will be the income tax numbers that will be coming out in middle of August, around the 17th, 18th. We're supposed to get a confirmation of the circuit breaker number by the 31st of July. That's another big number. We already have some initial numbers on that. So far, I think I reported last time, the growth quotient came in at 5% for 2023, and we'll be plugging that in as well as any of the other revenue items that come up. We are trying to get I think Susan had sent out a Finance and Personnel Committee to hold a date on, I believe, the 24th.
Correct.
And so that would be where we will kind of go over what our budget estimates are looking like, as well as items regarding the personnel side, anything that Lorraine may have as far as looking ahead for the October, November meetings where we usually get into more in-depth into the pay and benefits. Let's see. One of the things we're working on that was brought up last time was the use of DocuSign. We did find that that is perfectly capable. State Board will not take issue with that. So we are just needing to have some help from IT to get the software implemented on that. And we'll start using that for the mid-month claims that come out. So hopefully that'll all be able to be done by email. So make it a lot more easy for everybody.
Good.
Let's see, Susan and I, back to the budget. We are scheduled, I did get confirmation that the county will be holding the budget meetings that they usually do on August 18th, their meeting. We'll go over there and discuss our budget with them, as well as just general discussion about what's happening with the library and all. Not specifically, certainly in the facility master plan item or anything like that. We'll be talking more of the operating budget like we usually do. But we're planning on attending that, and I've notified Nick Jordan, the county auditor, and he's aware of that.
Do we
So
have a sequence in the agenda? Do we know
he'll send that to me once
if
he
you could
establishes.
provide it?
Yeah, usually they try to put us real quick, right at the top, if not, close to it.
Okay?
And then, the final thing I just wanted to report on, and some of you have been here, the Board of Finance meetings. I keep saying in the past, well, there's no sense in tying up our money into CDs or something because their interest rates are so low and everything. Well, thanks to the Fed, they're starting to come up. And so we are looking at a number of different options now that haven't been possible in the portfolios of Treasury bills. Nothing's changed as far as what we're able to invest in. It still has to be items that are full faith and credit of the U.S. and all. But it is getting interesting now where certainly some of our more liquid assets are hovering around 1.8% as opposed to 0.10% and 0.4% where we were. But T-bill portfolios are coming in around the 2 to 2.5%. So we're probably going to move some of our money that currently is in Lake City and Star into some of those more lucrative items. So while interest rates going up aren't good for us as consumers, for the library, it's good. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I have to report on, but I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions on the financial report?
I do have one, and it's just a general question, but with inflation the way it is, how has it affected the budget in your perception right now this year? I know you're saying we're well within the numbers.
Right.
Have you seen increases in our costs?
Certainly direct hits like fuel costs. Now luckily we don't have a huge fleet. It's not like the city with the police fleet and things like that. Ours is the courier vans and things like that. We're seeing things fairly heavy as far as expense, but actually it's not ahead of my usual benchmark is if it's spending over 2 months ahead of time, and we aren't there yet. So so far so good. Certainly we need to keep an eye on utility cost, heating, electricity, etc. But those are not ones that would have that immediate inflation. We just had the story this morning that NIPSCO's rates are going up 10%, so I anticipate we're going to feel that. But knock on wood, so far we haven't had any items, any lines that are tied to the direct inflation numbers that would be like, consumables and those items, other than fuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I do. Dave, will you or Susan, maybe you have it later, an update on the damage from Boyd and how those went?
Sure. I can give you where we are right now. It's in the insurance agents group right now. It was substantial. They're looking at about a $500,000 to $750,000 cost on the repair. There were 8 trusses, roof trusses, that were damaged in there that have to be replaced, as well as, of course, the roof itself, and then making sure it's sound. So I'm glad we had insurance on that, because that was a very expensive damage.
What's our deductible?
$25,000.
Oh.
Yeah, so,
I'll add that the staff has been very creative and resourceful at Aboit, because not that there would ever be a good time, but they were smack in the middle of summer learning and a lot of robust programming. So they borrowed a tent from our event staff and put a big top, if you will, out on the grounds so they could have programs outdoors, and they've been relocating programs to other libraries when needed, and I just have to applaud how they just roll with it and still make the magic happen.
Any other questions? How about a motion to approve the financial report as distributed?
So moved.
And
Second.
a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Let's move to the claims.
and as I mentioned, I'm going to bring around 2 packets, one from the 11th and one from today, for approval. The highest items are, as usual, the library materials and utility, the electric costs. So, and not really anything outstanding on those.
Okay. Questions on the claims?
Move for approval.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Thanks, Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Thank you so much. Okay, Susan, let's talk about the business value calculator.
I sure will. I will reintroduce our new Director of Community Programs and Partnerships, Beth Boatwright, who has, I think, some really interesting and informative numbers about our impact to the business and entrepreneurial community here in Allen County.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be back with you today. I've had the unique opportunity to play with a new calculator that's been provided to us by the Urban Library Council. They created, in association with St. Louis Public Library, a business value calculator that is intended to quantify the economic impact that the library gives back to our community through our resources, services, and spaces. The way that this calculator works, and before I move on, I should say Nate Bernard gets all of the credit for digging into our massive stockpiles of data to find these numbers that we could work with. But the way it works is that in a large number of categories, we determine what the commercial cost is for a library resource. If a business or an individual, an entrepreneur, were to purchase that resource themselves or for their company, we quantify the amount of use that resource has had through ACPL, and we get a number that indicates the value that was generated for Allen County businesses and entrepreneurs. In all cases, we are narrowing down the statistics we have based on our understanding of how much that resource was used by entrepreneurs and businesses or by job seekers. So we're focusing specifically on economic impact. So for example, our amazing business library team has creates industry reports or finds industry reports through our databases. These industry reports are available to anybody in Allen County who wants to go diving through our databases to find them. We had, I think, 200 uses at ACPL last year. That provides $80,000 of in return to the community through local businesses and entrepreneurs. In this case, strictly through one very quantifiable report, database searches, industry reports. And that's a massive number of impact through just one ACPL resource. Now, the calculator covers 4 main areas of resources and services, so we'll talk briefly about each one. Training and education, research services, our physical spaces, and technology and equipment. I will say that in terms of understanding the data and the statistics for last year, a couple caveats to keep in mind. 2021, still pandemic year. So we had closures, we had very few indoor programs until the fall, and then even those were curtailed again. And our services were limited in a variety of ways. So the numbers I'm going to present, the statistics I'm going to share, we think are very conservative for what an actual numbers would be for sort of a more normal program year. So training and education. This category includes business consultations. An entrepreneur comes in, says, help me with a business plan. A lot of those consultations we will refer directly to our partners at the Northeast Indiana Innovation Center, the NIC, but many of them we will help with. Our librarians, our staff to do that. Employment-related consultations, job seekers coming in for help, happens very frequently. Technology consultations, business-related classes, professional development trainings are all part of this category. And we calculate that in total, just in training and education, we've returned $1,788,000 worth of value to our community just in 2021. Research services are bread and butter, perhaps. So industry analysis and reports, online platform subscriptions, funding research, and business book and ebook use. In total, these are actually modest numbers, but carry high value because of the value placed on them through private researchers. I mean, a lot of this data is very expensive to get if you're just an entrepreneur or business on your own. $557,000, well, almost $558,000 just from our research services. As I was preparing these numbers, I was trying to figure out a way to put a face on this so that we can see not just the numbers, but also the impact this is having on our community. I was connected to a woman who serves as, I'm sorry, let me get my story straight. I met with a woman named Vanessa Hayden. She is a partner of ours, or not a partner, a patron of ours who was connected recently with the NIC in 2021. Through the NIC and their connection with our business librarians, she started coming down to the main library for help with her business plan. Here's what she told me. She said, as we teamed up with the library, it was helpful because it allowed me to do my business plan. I would spend time there doing research and be able to talk to someone and get some advice and direction. I went to the library several times. I'd bring my stuff and try to look up things. I needed someone to guide me. The librarian helped me define my business and structure my business. Just going there and talking to different people was a blessing for me. I used a lot of resources. This is a woman from our community who told me she was anxious about starting a new business. She had ideas, she has talents, skills, and abilities, and she realized that with the pandemic, that's sort of an equalizer, because everybody's been anxious for the last couple of years. Her business, Partly Whimsical, focuses on interior design for accessibility, specifically focusing on people that are not neurotypical. So accessibility in a home, for example, for parents, or in a business for employers who have folks who are autistic in their communities. Just one story out of many, many, many stories. So the calculator also talks about physical spaces. In our case, this is primarily private meeting spaces and our study spaces, which are used for business as well as many other reasons. Tutors use our study rooms a lot. Certainly we have folks who use our meeting rooms regularly. We have 14 locations, as you're very aware. And we calculate that our total value returned to our local business economy is $97,000 in 2021. Again, that's with many months of closures. And finally, technology and equipment. So public computers, lending hotspots, our wireless internet access, our makerspace equipment, where a lot of times entrepreneurs go to sort of test out their ideas and figure out what might work, and software access, things like Adobe Creative Cloud or even just Microsoft Office. We estimate that $976,700 went back to our economy just through our technology services. I talked with a grant administrator for a local healthcare nonprofit. She had the experience of working for a fairly large community organization, but living in a community in Monroeville where she didn't have regular internet access. What do you do when you are sent home to work from home? You have to be in meetings, but you can't get online at home. She said, during the pandemic especially, the library has been so helpful to us. We don't have reliable internet service, so we've utilized the mobile hotspots and also meeting space at the branch. It's helped tremendously to be able to continue doing our jobs remotely. When I know that I have a lot of meetings scheduled on Teams or Zoom, in order to get a really good internet connection, I'll schedule a meeting room at the library here in Monroeville, and it just works so well. If that wasn't the case, if this patron did not have access to our library, they would be commuting in, they would be exposing themselves to a healthcare situation, which has been nerve-wracking for many. But this person is able to continue to work from home because the library is there. This is an employee that would have a very different circumstance if the library was not there to support her. So drum roll, please. In total, according to this business value calculator, Allen County Public Libraries provided $3.4 million in value to entrepreneurs and businesses in our local community through training, education, research services, physical spaces, technology, and equipment in 2021. This is a brand new calculator. It just came out this year. The numbers are very up to date using national averages and in some cases local numbers when we were able to find them. And we look forward to repeating this experiment in the future to see how the value changes over time. That said, I have all of the details here with me. So if you have any questions about where any of these numbers came from or about the way we did our estimations, I'd be happy to chat with you about them or answer any questions.
Good report, thank you. Questions?
Just real quick, what kind of team in the library worked on these numbers? I know you and Nate, and who?
Well,
what other kind of team did you use here?
Nate and I did the digging into the numbers that we have, and Nate used his knowledge and expertise to sort of help us tailor down what percentage, for example, should we call business use out of the general use, since we don't track the purpose of everybody walking through the building. However, the collection of the numbers is a team event. So we have people who dive into our databases and pull statistics out of them so we understand our database usage. Everybody who records a reference transaction, we have data that we pull in our room reservation software that we used for this report. Almost every place that we put data, we had people digging through it to find the numbers that we used in this report.
Along the same lines, but using different variables, is it possible to calculate the revenue generated from genealogy, for example, or from Lincoln Scholars?
Yes, and well, yes, probably. So that type of programming is hard to quantify in this type of calculator, which is very focused on business-specific outcomes that are very tangible, or as tangible as we can make them. I was giving some thought to this, Kurt, and I would like to have more conversations about it. But the business side and the contributions that we make to genealogy and the genealogy community are massive. The question is how to quantify them other than in users. So there are businesses that certainly depend on this kind of knowledge and information. There are people who make money off of it. We know that we have a local community of genealogy researchers who make money using our collections to do their work. Kurt, do you want to comment?
I would just offer then that our executive director sits on the board of the Friends, of Visit Fort Wayne, and they have a very sophisticated calculator to determine by door count and by other metrics that we gather how much value the genealogy center is, and we could apply that to the Roland Center as well, to the community.
Thank you.
So for those that didn't have a microphone, that's a Greater Fort Wayne partnership. Susan
Visit Fort
serves.
Wayne.
Visit Fort Wayne.
Yes,
Thank
the
you,
Tourism
partnership.
Bureau. Yes,
They have a sophisticated
They estimate that in
calculator.
indirect economic impact, our genealogy center has a few $million. Absolutely.
It's not insignificant.
No, it's not.
A different kind of economic impact, for sure.
I will say I got to meet in person the patron you spoke to from Monroeville, because one of the charming things, if you go to Monroeville, there are many charming things at Monroeville, but one is when you walk in the library, the manager, Chris, introduces you to literally every patron in the building, because he knows every patron in the building. So this lovely patron was there at the same time I was visiting, and I heard firsthand about how she would not have been able to work during the pandemic without us.
That's right. And in the charming way of Monroeville patrons, she and I will be meeting to talk more about grant development and fundraising going forward. So I look forward to that. But we're very, very grateful, and she was very, very grateful and expressed gratitude for the way that the library has been able to support her day-to-day work.
Well, thank you, Beth. That was quite enlightening and quite practical.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Shall we move now to committee reports? Anything to report, Marty, on capital project?
A few bit. First, I want to thank Beth and Nate and the whole team for data, because I think that's important for all of us as we move forward. and our community relationship here with the facilities master plan and our bond approval. We need to move forward with the necessary government authorities. But while we're doing that, we need also to figure out our details, what our community needs, at least kind of puts more meat to the bones, as it were, of the plan. We've been trying to do that internally at the library over the last few months. In addition, the staff is working on building community support, and I think Susan and Dave and others have been trying to do that as well. Just a couple of examples, we're meeting with the Anthony Wayne Rotary Club that I'm aware of, with the Regional Arts Council. I think, Ben, you've been involved in meeting with the Greater Fort Wayne as well. And again, just trying to build our community support. We plan to have more community information and information how individual community members and organizations can help us do that in the very near future as well. And we do invite anybody listening, anybody out there, if you can think of an organization that we can come and talk to, we want to hear from you. So please contact Susan to do that.
Thank you, Marty. Any questions, Marty? Okay, how about F&P?
Nothing other than, as I mentioned, we are planning on having our first meeting of the budget season on August 24th,
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
Dave, is that already on our calendars, or?
I don't know if
No.
it's set up with,
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
No, we wanted to confirm it with everybody tonight, and then I will send out a calendar invite.
okay, okay. Well, let's move from that to your report, Susan.
Thank you. I submitted a written report, some highlights. Speaking of genealogy and its economic impact, Kurt and Allison Singleton and Elizabeth Hodges from our Genealogy Center were in Indianapolis a few weeks ago for the Midwestern Roots Genealogy Conference. And when I say they were in Indianapolis for the conference, they basically were the conference. We were a sponsor, we were featured speakers. Kurt gave a keynote that apparently brought people to tears, as he is known to do, in a good way, in a good way. So we were a big hit. And speaking of hits, ACPL is a big hit out on the festival circuit because the summer festival season is in full swing. And July's activities included tabling at the International Festival, and also our Welt crew provided the hosting services for the entertainment stage at International Village. And we also were at Pride last weekend and had a lot of fun. Marty mentioned that Dave and I are taking the F&P Roadshow out in the community, and we were at the Anthony Wayne Rotary Club meeting yesterday to do a presentation. Got quite a bit of personnel news, so you may see an empty seat over there. Sadly, Helen Starks, our executive assistant, she did resign a few weeks ago for another opportunity, and we miss her very much and wish her well. We are currently accepting applications to fill the vacancy. I do want to thank Human Resources Assistant Michelle Vance. You are familiar with her because she helped out when we were between executive assistants about 1.5 years ago. She is helping me with some duties until the position is filled. Also, we just learned that our security manager, John Heidi, is going to be retiring at the end of August. So that will be a big loss to our system. We will wish him all the best. He was with us for over 20 years, and we already have an announcement out to recruit for his successor. So lots of movement in personnel around the library. On that note, our new Director of Communications, Aja Michael Keller, she will begin on August 15th. And she is very excited to join us. She comes from Ivy Tech Community College, where she was the Executive Director of Marketing and Communications. And a little late-breaking news from the report, I have the interviews were held in July for the newly created Collection Services Manager. They were held, and this week we were able to announce that person will be Matt Etzel. Matt Etzel has been with the library for about 4 years, currently serving as our manager of the Reader Services Department. So this will be a promotion for him. We are also working on a reimagined main library service model, and some of the new positions that you created a few weeks ago or a few months ago are part of that process. The new model includes circulation being part of Kim Boland's Public Services Department, and also some unified staffing models throughout the main library. And I've asked Kim, as well as Nate and Mike Ashby, to come to next month's meeting to do a presentation on what that looks like in the status. And in more personnel news, I would like to reintroduce Tanya Frandl over there in the corner. You know Tanya from our Shawnee branch as the manager there, but she was recently promoted to the branch services manager. So that means that she is the direct supervisor of our 13 branch managers. We also have a resignation with Carla Bauman. She, as the manager of the Little Turtle branch, she is resigning at the end of July after 22 years of service, and we will miss her terribly. She was just absolutely wonderful. We have these 2 branch manager vacancies at Shawnee and Little Turtle, and it gave us this organic opportunity to try a staffing model that Kim Bolin has wanted to try for a while, that we've seen be very successful at other libraries across the country. We are piloting a staffing model that would share a branch manager between 2 locations. So we are currently recruiting for a dual branch manager who would cover both Little Turtle and Shawnee. Both Little Turtle and Shawnee would still continue to have their full-time assistant branch managers, but they would share the branch manager position. We've already had several internal candidates apply for the opportunity, so there's interest there. We'd like to pilot this for 6 to 8 months and see how successful it is. And if it is successful, based on our metrics and also feedback from the staff, it is a staffing model that we could consider using in other libraries as well. And one more thing, and then I'm happy to answer questions that didn't make the survey, the report, more late-breaking news. We have our staff strategic plan work group, and they are charged with thinking up of ideas and initiatives that we could roll out that would support our strategic plan. And one idea that they have thought of that has been very popular and well-received at other libraries throughout the country is auto-renewal. That means that instead of going online to renew your library books and DVDs or calling us, unless there was a hold, it would automatically renew. Now, that would involve a policy decision by the board because that is library policy. But before we come to you with a proposal, we want to make sure it's something that our community and our patrons want. So in the coming weeks, you will probably see a survey. We're going to be putting out a survey both in our locations as a paper survey and a QR code, and also push it out on social media to see what patrons think of that, to see if it would be beneficial to them, because we feel that that would be an important data point before we come to you with a recommendation. And that is my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I got a few, just on the late breaking news there on the hold.
Yeah.
Do you feel like everybody understands how easy it is to put a book on hold at the library now? Because it's so incredibly easy, I do it all the time, but is there any kind of demographic group that maybe doesn't do it as much at the library that we need to educate
people
on?
my age.
Yes, okay. I was trying to be nice, Ben. But yeah, that maybe don't understand it or aren't using it as much as they should out there. And I mean, because we're going to have people browsing, and that's really the only people this would affect at all, right? Is because their books aren't getting put back on the shelves because they're automatically renewed. But I get my email reminder every day, it seems like, and then I go and renew whichever books are out there.
I don't like to generalize, but I will say that some of our more seasoned library patrons might be a little reluctant to use that technology. The person that would probably have the best information for that is Mike Ashby, who will be here next month. I'd be curious to see his response to that.
Okay.
But I'm glad you think it's easy. Yeah.
Oh, it's easy. So, too easy.
Susan, on the auto renewal?
Yeah.
Will that eliminate the fees? My assumption is, since there'll be books and material would renew automatically, then we wouldn't have overdue fees?
Well, that could be part of it. It could go either way. I will say that in my experience, most libraries that move to auto renewal also at the same time go fine free, but it doesn't have to be that way. Some libraries do auto renewal and still have overdue fines. However, once you have auto renewal, you are going to reduce the amount of library fines you take in.
Okay.
And part of it is the auto renew is a limit. Right now, there's a limit to 5 times, 3 times?
Right now, the limit is 5.
5,
Now,
yeah.
this is my personal opinion, I think 5 in auto renewal might be a little much. So that will be a really interesting data point to get from our patrons, whether they would like to see auto renewal but maybe less renewals allowed to them, or 5 renewals that they can do on their own.
Okay.
Will And this may still be real new. I know you said it's late breaking.
Very late breaking, yes.
Have they had an opportunity to think about the impact on the e-book and our limited licensing numbers? Will those automatically renew as well in the same format?
They
or am I
are a
asking
separate
for-
animal.
Separate animal?
Yeah,
Okay.
separate animal. This would be
Okay.
for physical materials.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
That's a very good point, though. That's an education point for patrons if indeed this becomes reality.
Thank
So-
you.
So when you see that survey come out, I just didn't want you to be surprised.
Okay.
I did have cut to one other thing then, if I may.
Yeah.
I love the reports. I think they're great.
Yeah.
The quarterly managers and the collection
Mhm.
management report. I'm glad we went to quarterly managers to make it quarterly instead
Me
of
too.
monthly, because I think that helps. I'm looking at the collection manager report. I love getting the data, but do we really need that every month now, or can we? I guess it depends how much effort really is to put that together anymore. Really just pulling data. Should we keep doing it monthly, or should we switch that to quarterly as well? Just to save time, and that's, because I'm not sure we need it more than quarterly for the board.
That is really at your pleasure. This is a tool that we provide for you. I will say that if we want to make a change, I think to make it neat and clean, we probably would want to start that next year.
Okay.
And also Nate has been doing this for a long time and does it really well. This is the task that we hope to transition over to Matt when he begins his role as collection services manager.
Okay.
And the effort, the numbers are there. It's just simply compiling them.
Sure.
Yeah, and if it's simple and fast, I agree. I just don't want to take it, somebody's time every month if quarterly is all we really, the board really needs, so.
Good point. Any other questions or comments? Let's then move to new business. Are there any items of new business that we would like to discuss? How about public comment? Anything via the internet? No? Rosa, would you like to make a public comment? Oh, okay, fine. Well, that being said, I'll entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Thank you very much. See you in August.
Thank you.
Now, we do have an executive session.
We do, and I've asked Dave and Lorraine to stay because the topics are germane to them.